Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, and this is another edition of Championship Friday here on Jim Johnston Reviews the World. Today we have for you a bootleg replica version, 2mm thick metal plates on real leather. This is the National Wrestling Alliance United States Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. Come with me now, folks, and we'll take a look at this belt and see how it stacks up in my opinions. Alright, before we take a closer look at this replica belt, just a little background on the NWA United States Championship, or this one. This version of the title was used on red leather like this and on black leather from 1986 to 1991 when it was destroyed by that dastardly Russian Nikita Koloff in an angle, leading to the introduction of the Midwest 5-plate WCW United States Championship, later replaced with the 3-plate version, later redone by J-Mart. So anyway, this design of the belt had about a little 5-year run, a little over, and it's my favorite United States Championship belt. That's why we're doing this today. That's why I have this one in the collection at this point. It's my favorite United States belt of all time. This belt I purchased off of Amazon.com. To the best of my abilities, this is another Pakistani-made belt claiming 2mm inch thick plates. I'm thinking they're a little shy of that, but I don't have a caliper to throw on it. And we'll get into that here in a moment. Before we take a detailed look at the plates, I want to point out some stuff here on the main plate so I don't forget them. So what I'm going to point out now is artwork inaccuracies versus the real belt, but the real belt doesn't exist anymore and high-def pictures also do not. In this case, we're using the term real belt for a belt made by the same manufacturer that originally made this belt, which was Reggie Parks. So when comparing this to another United States, NWA United States belt made by Reggie Parks, there is about a half dozen differences over this replica. We can see in the NWA, the A, all the A's all around the belt. If you see the inside shape of that A, it's almost a perfect triangle, whereas on the belts I've seen, the bottom of the A has a little bit of a swoop to it. Also on this, the NWA and these banners here and here are smaller than they are on the Reggie version, and the stars on the top are bigger. And then the bottom of the red banners on the Reggie version I most recently saw, these were much smaller, barely even enough to paint in, just a couple little small red bits. And then on the side plates here, right here on the end, the real one almost has this raised portion, then another recessed portion, then a second outer raised portion, almost creating a double border around the plates, and the same thing around this inner part. So that's another inaccuracy on the plates. Now there's some differences here in the United States. The one I saw, Alaska, almost looked like part of California, and that was a Reggie belt, and Hawaii kind of looked more like Puerto Rico or a second California down there. This belt, you see Oregon looks a little janky, and some of the states are a little further apart. That's a hard detail to get in there, but then at the same time, if you're able to do individual eagles feathers, you might be able to do 50 stars and bars. That would be states. And you can see just throughout little things that aren't perfect. So except for those about half dozen things, and this also has an end cap on it, which we'll get to later. That wasn't on the original, and then there's a couple, this tooling here that was pressed. To me it looks a little bit more, doesn't look like the standard Midwest tooling quite right, but it's decent. And that's just nitpicking, folks. If we're going 100% out of 100% versus the closest high-def look at the real belt or a belt made by the same manufacturer, my opinion. But to me, real belts are only ring used. Anything that's a copy of the belt made by the same manufacturer would be a manufacturer-produced belt. It's real and that's made by the same manufacturer. All right, hopefully that wasn't too rambling, pointing out the main differences that I've seen on this belt versus a belt made by Reggie Parks of the same design. Let's go ahead and adjust our cameras here, and we'll take you on a little close-up tour of the belt. I want to thank you for tuning in to Championship Friday here on Jim Johnston Reviews the World. And if you like my stuff, go ahead and subscribe and share this channel with your friends to help us grow the world. And heck, if you liked what you saw here today, go down below, give me a big old thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that too. Alright, this has been our look at a Pakistani bootleg-made replica of the NWA United States Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. This belt was purchased off of Amazon.com from the seller by the name of JHOL. Alright, but before we get going, you know, this is pro wrestling, so you gotta have that legendary 5-star rating system. And given some feedback from my more recent belt videos today, we're gonna start giving you a two-star ratings for each one of these belts. Star rating number 1 is me evaluating this belt based on the price point that I paid for it. This belt being right around $150 shipped, very low price point, and that's kind of the price point of belts that I'm currently in. Based off of what I paid for it and my memories of those 99, 2000 to 2005 WWF, WWE, WCW, ECW, that original line of replica belts that were actually over $200. So when accounting for inflation, this belt is a better value than any of those with real leather. 2mm thick plates, yes, the same, but crappy pleather. I'd rather have this stiff leather than crappy pleather. So based on that rating, I'm giving this belt my highest rating for now that we will be giving, and that's a 4.5. 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't want to someday have to break the star rating system, so it's going to take a belt that's extra special at the price point, of course, for that 4.75 and 5.0 ratings. Now, the second rating that people ask me to do about this is based off of a real belt, or we can't get into it here, but I have a lot of contextual misgivings about what people consider real belts and what people consider not real belts. We'll get into that another time when we're going to do a full video, somewhat of a buyer's guide for bootleg belts, and we'll get into my rant about what people consider to be real belts and not. That's enough of that for now. So this belt, based off of everything I've seen, I've never had like I mentioned earlier, there is no more real belt of this as far as what I consider to be real, but a belt made by the same belt maker, which would be Reggie Parks. I'd also accept Dave Milliken for this as well. Never held one in my hands, but I've seen some HD videos and pictures, spent much time on it actually getting ready to record this video. So based on that, I'm going to give this belt a solid 3 out of 5 stars based on the real thing. It's the first time I'm doing this, so it might be a little liberal, but I don't see this as a 2-star belt, and 2.5 just seems cliche. So we're going to go 3 out of 5 versus the real thing. Possibly a little generous. We'll see. This rating system is going to be a little bit of a work in progress until I really get things in tune with how I'm doing these reviews, folks. I am new to this, so once we get hopefully 10, 15 belts in, we'll have this double-star review system fully panned out. I want to thank you again for watching today, and we'll see you again next time here on Championship Friday. And before we go, remember, from me to you at home, be weird, be free, and most importantly, be independent. Have a nice day!